It's time to review our national dailies. We kickstart with the Daily Trust, and the bolder headline states sudden deaths rise. That's on pages 5 and 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And just above the bolder headline, 2027, only endorsement by citizens can save Tinubu. That's on page 6 of the Daily Trust. Sanusi raises alarm over federal government borrowing. That's on page 41 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And then also we have thugs attack chairman in Abuja. That's on page 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And also we have Zamfara accident, mother found dead holding child. That's on page 35 of the Daily Trust. Kaduna houses, farms flooded. Federal government issues fresh alert in 11 states. That's on page 40 of the Daily Trust. Billions at stake as Nigerians pay for failed USSD transactions. That's on page 27 of the Daily Trust. Do well to get yourself a copy to stay informed.
All right, next up we have The Guardian. Right in front we have back to school. Parents struggle with steep tuition hike as schools wrestle rising OPEX. At the top left we have Akpabio urges Nigerians to tarry, says Tinubu's reforms will bear fruit. That's on page 5 of The Guardian newspaper. That man warns against divisive narratives in downstream sector. That as well is on page 5. ANEC others tasked on credible polls to avert protesters. That is still on The Guardian newspaper. Punish politicians in early election campaigns, Serap tells INEC. That's on page 7 of The Guardian. If states may choose 11 states may experience heavy rain this week, that says federal government. That's on page 27 of The Guardian newspaper. Shekaro's PDP chairmanship, ADA's prospects unsettle ADC coalition. We have experts divided over Fubara's return as emergency rule expires on Thursday. That's on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Agbeshola condemns APC's economic policies. And next up, Don blames poor nutrition policy execution for 45% child morbidity. That's on page 27 of The Guardian newspaper. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed.
All right, then joining us to review some of the headlines on the pages of today's newspaper is the Programs Director, Daily Trust Foundation, Dr. Theophilus Abba. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Happy New Week.
Happy New Week, absolutely. So let's jump right in. We'll start with Daily Trust. The bolder headline, sudden deaths rise. I and Hawa were having, our banters this morning, and I said one thing that caught my attention over the weekend is the incessant, deaths. You get to hear stories about, oh, this person collapsed, in his or her car or, while on the road and what have you. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, the sudden death is quite, it's affecting everybody. On the 26th of August, I lost a friend through sudden death. When I spoke with her husband, she said, I know, it was just a matter of 30 minutes and she was gone. What did she complain? So I have pains in my chest, and they were thinking, well, maybe it could be, what do you call it, so that prevent you from eating food. Oh my God!
Is it constipation?
No, not constipation. I say if you take pepperish food, the thing, ulcer.
Okay.
You were thinking it was ulcer, and then if you are feeling this pain so much, let's go to the hospital. Enter the car, drove. Before they could get to the hospital, she ended. So it's a problem that is with us because you speak with some persons, you discuss, the future. You talk about what will happen in the next 2 years, 3 years, what I'm going to do. I have this project, I'll go here, I'll do that. And then you hear, suddenly the person, dies. So it's a problem that is present with us. In the past, we will say, well, it is what do you call it, an attack. Say it's a spiritual attack. They usually, for those who are close to their villages, you are not village people. You are city ladies. So, but if it were in the village, oh no, he had an attack. He was attacked by some powers, enemies. But then we are discovering that it is not exactly that. You know, if you read the Daily Trust story, I think the medical expert who was interviewed gave indicators. Say, look, one of the things you have to take note of are your numbers. If you do your, BP test and it's rising above a certain number, you need to seek help. You know, then sitting for too long, which many of us are guilty of. You sit in your office for long, you sit in the car, when you get to the house, you sit in the sitting room, you know, no exercise. They complain about lack of exercises. And then if you know that you have BP issues, then you should make sure that you constantly seek medical help. You know, when you have some feelings. You don't have a feeling, or I have pains there, but I'm feeling dizzy, and then that's okay, let me wish it away. You know, at times these things don't get wished away. You know, you need to seek help. You know, but the major challenge for us in Nigeria is that we need a whole lot of education and then access to health. You know, you may not need to go to national hospital, but then if there are facilities at primary healthcare centers, you know, maybe some of them are in our neighborhood. If there are facilities there, you just go in and say, okay, look, I'm feeling like this. But most times you get there, you can't see a doctor, and some of the nurses and midwives you see, they can't even help you. You know, so what some of us do, I have a friend to some pharmacists. I will just look, I walk in and I say, look, this is what I'm feeling. Please, can you test me? So let's look at your BP, let's look at your blood sugar, you know. So we can adopt strategies like that so that at least if there are indicators, we can quickly, you know, seek remedy. You know, because from what the experts said, it may be sudden, it may have occurred suddenly. But then those who are victims, at times they may be having some pains, some feelings, some symptoms, you know, that perhaps they ignored. Or maybe they talk about lifestyle. You know, it's okay, make sure that you maintain a good lifestyle. That means maybe you do exercise, because they keep talking about exercises. Although we know that even those who exercise, some of them still die. But then you just try your best, engage in exercises. I'm guilty of that. And then talk about alcohol, smoking, you know, avoiding them. So some of these things, we will take note of them, then we'll pray. God will help us.
All right. So let's look at the story. 2027, only endorsement by citizens can save Tinubu. What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that it's only if Nigerians do endorse Tinubu, that's when he can be able to scale the election in 2027?
Well, I think what the person is saying is that
Sorry about that.
what he's saying is that he has to work hard, you know, to ensure that Nigerians have confidence in him. You know, we are suffering. I read an editorial yesterday which says that the country is richer than ever before, but the poverty in the country is worse than ever before. You know, I read a very interesting editorial. You know, the government has a lot of money. The elite have access to a lot of money. The governors have access to a lot of money. You know, but the ordinary Nigerians are suffering. So I think what the person is trying to say is that, look, you have to take care of the ordinary Nigerians. You see, nobody hates a president. If a president does well, people will clap and say, we can vote for this man again. You know, but if everything we experience is hardships, suffering, promises that are not kept, and then the next thing we see from you is data, statistics, charts, telling us how some things have grown, and then you will be rub it on our faces that there's so much money now, what we expect to get for a whole year we got in August, and then we are suffering. You know, so you see that I think what the person is saying is this: please, you know, why don't you do things that make Nigeria to be happy with you, so that they can endorse you for a second term? You know, at the moment, some people are happy with the president, and who are they? The elite. You know, the people in government, they are happy with him because there's so much money. You know, and then the ordinary Nigerians who are supposed to, you know, to be the ones to decide, you know, they are not happy. So I think that if the president would look for ways, you see, there are measures that he has embarked upon. Some of them quite, right, but then there are other measures that should be implemented. For instance, you remove subsidy, fine. Redistribute the money. You know, you remove subsidy and give all the money to a few persons who will just help themselves with it. You know, you increase, devalue the naira, then some few persons are making a lot of money from you. They are not redistributing the money. If you devalue the naira, then you ensure that at least the value of what we have, that people should have should be able to meet their daily needs. You know, at the moment, people are not meeting their daily needs. People are not. You know, if you look at the level of begging in Nigeria today, the level of begging, you know, is too embarrassing. You know, some persons you don't even expect to say, do something, do something. No, there's no money anywhere. People just be calling you, thinking that you have money. Even you are looking for someone that will give you money. You know, so the level of suffering in Nigeria is too much. You know, the level of suffering is too much. And these are the people who vote. Even if all the elite clap hand for you, they are going to use, but maybe you use INEC because we are told that it's INEC who decides who wins an election. You know, the electoral body decides. You can go and vote, but the one who decides is INEC. But even if you use INEC and to win an election, people are still not happy with you. You know, people are still not happy. So I think that government has to, in the next 1-2 years, there has to be something, you know, to ensure that the suffering in the country reduces. You know, they know what to do. Sincerely, they are experts. The guys in government are experts. They are not ordinary people. They know what to do. But let them tell the president that this thing we must do. I keep saying, if you make the president to become God, all of us will suffer. Because no human being is God. You can't talk to God. You know, you can only pray to God. Now, this guy is not God. So tell him, no, these are the issues. We must do this, we must do that. Be frank with him. You know what to do, but you don't want to tell him so that he doesn't get angry. And all of us are facing this problem. Everybody is crying. You cannot say you are president, everybody under you. Majority of the people are lamenting. And you are saying, you are president, you are in control of everything. So I'm feeling that for him to receive the support of Nigeria 2027, there has to be a way of maybe cushioning the effect of some of the policies that are affecting us negatively.
All right, still on talking about the issues, you know, facing Nigeria. Sanusi raises alarm over federal government borrowing. I mean, they're saying that, you know, that Nigeria's debt profile is almost 150 trillion naira as at the end of the first quarter of 2025. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think he's saying exactly what we have been saying. Even, Daily Trust as a newspaper has been saying, you know, that this borrowing are quite unnecessary and creating opportunities for people to steal money from the system. Sincerely, I have argued again and again that it's good for us to put on the table all the funds we have borrowed, then find out how they have performed. You borrowed money to do Nigeria Railway. Okay, how is it performing? You borrow money, you know, okay, they talk about the money they get, unconditional cash transfer. How is it performing? Who are the people getting this money? Are people actually getting it? Or are they family members of ministers, of important Nigerians, or governors who are getting all this money? Who are the guys getting this money? You know, then how are you going to, what was process putting in place to make sure that you recover this money some way? You know, what investments are there? You know, we are not, if you borrow funds from a bank, you know, and you don't invest it to make profit, sincerely, you are digging your own grave, because the bank will come after you. You know, whatever you have, they will take. They will say, look, we gave you this money for a period of so and so, you have not paid the interest. You have paid the principal, you must pay the interest. So if we are borrowing money, common sense, and we are not putting it in areas that we can generate money, and you just giving it to some civil servants who decide how to disburse the money, and then we don't see return on investment, we don't even know whether these things are being used. Most of the investigations we have done concerning projects, if you go around, most of them are abandoned. If a project is abandoned, what profit comes from it? And we have so many of the thousands of abandoned projects all over the country. They are not generating income. It's a waste. And then whatever you generate today, you have to use to pay. Unfortunately, I mean, if you borrow money from these multilateral organizations, or even if it's the bilateral, you must pay back. You know, the CBN or the Ministry of Finance, they have a way of deducting this, whether you use the money for what was supposed to be used for or not. So even when some person steal the money from the system, nobody's holding anybody accountable. What they do is they steal the money, and then the government will just keep paying. The money that ought to be used for development will use to pay loans, because you can't default. Yeah, it's a government. If it's a state government loan, it's guaranteed by the federal government. So as soon as you are getting your allocation from FAC, they are pulling the money. So if a governor stole the money, he knows that, oh, whatever comes later will be used to pay. So, I mean, it is madness the way we are actually borrowing money. The president is telling us that by August this year, he has got every money he needed for 2025, and then he's borrowing $1.7 billion. So what sense does that make? We say we are borrowing money for out-of-school children. How has that happened? You know, we set up some commissions. We don't even know their performance. You know, so it's not like, okay, the opportunities to borrow money, every window available, let's utilize it, just keep borrowing. If you look at countries that really borrow, the highly indebted countries in the world, they are countries that manufacture. If you talk of Japan, talk of Germany, you talk of even India manufactures, you know. And if you look at Turkey manufactures. Everybody is looking at Nigeria. Nigeria does not manufacture. Let's see how we can overwhelm them with what we want to manufacture. Look at China. If you look at the history of China, China was just one God-forgotten country, sincerely. You are younger people, but if you know the story of China in the 80s, in the early 90s, you know, where I was covering the foreign desk in 1997, 98 when I was with the Punch, and the worst place to go to for an assignment was the Chinese embassy. It was dirty, you know. But now look at China. China is now ranking as the second world. How did China do it? Was it by borrowing money from IMF and World Bank? It was not by doing so. China did this thing because they began to produce. They began to manufacture. Even they were manufacturing fake goods. People were insulting them. They kept on manufacturing. And now China is rubbing shoulders with America.
All right.
So we have to rethink our strategy. It's not working.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Theophilus, for always, reviewing the front pages of our national dailies and giving us an insight. And with that, we've come to the end of a Daybreak on Trust TV. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So that you don't miss out on interesting and interactive conversations. Thank you to all that called in and gave you contributions. As always, I am Hawa Adamikiawa. Thank you for watching.
And I am Mimuna Bagudu. Do well to follow us on all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream to stay informed. As you go on about your daily business today, make sure you put a smile on your face and on others as well. Have a great day. Bye-bye.